Recently, with the support of the Embassy of Belgium in Hanoi, the University of Civil Engineering and KU Leuven University from Belgium co-organized a seminar on solar energy in Vietnam, integration with the network grid, opportunities and challenges. During the workshop, the experts discussed the latest research and practical solutions on solar energy storage and technology, challenges in integrating with electricity networks, and relevant socio-economic aspects in Vietnam and Belgium. The workshop also facilitated the exchange of ideas and solutions together with a series of laws related to the production, transport, storage and use of solar energy, and together with stakeholders, last users in rural areas, households install solar power systems, researchers, local government representatives, business units, and power network operators. Solar experts also share practical experiences and exchange ideas to deal with current challenges and maximize opportunities in integrating solar energy to the network grid.
Greetings from Trang Vietnam on VTC10 Net Việt. Solar power has become more and more popular here in Vietnam, but how to integrate the solar power into the national grid is also a challenge. So what can be done in this regard? In today's show, let's have a talk with a specialist from Belgium, Mr. Calvin Melis. So thank you for joining us. What can you say about the trend of energy development in the world, and especially the renewable energy here in Vietnam?
Well, I think, as we've heard today, that Vietnam certainly has a lot of potential for green energy. You have the climate for it, and I think there's a lot of potential in that. It would be very interesting for Vietnam to make use of that.
Nowadays, in many countries around the world, the application of technology to the production and also the integration of renewable energy to the national grid is very popular. So can you share with us about the technologies in this regard?
I think for me that's also part of my research interests. I think one of the most important technology, well, it's not really one technology, it's more a family of technologies, is smart grids. So which is a grid which is the electrical grid, but with an extra layer added on top, which is an information layer, so that you exchange information between production and consumption about the state of the grid, prices, line loads, so that you have a much more responsive grid, which will allow to drive down prices for both producers and consumers. I know in Belgium we're just rolling it out now. We are going for smart meters, which are basically, instead of just a normal electricity meter, it's now an electricity meter with an internet gateway, so that you can have connection over the internet to the meter, so that you can access the data, run programs on it. And I know currently I'm also part of the platform working on that. In Belgium we have something called IO Energy, which is a program set up by our distribution system operators to actually look at what kind of business cases companies have to make use of that information flow to unlock the potential of that smart grid and of those smart meters.
Nowadays, many households and the buildings are interested in the solar power, and they want to install the solar panels into their house. So what are the impacts that it could have on the social economic development of Vietnam in general?
I think it could be quite impactful, and I think also that there's certainly an opportunity for a country like Vietnam to actually maybe leapfrog ahead of than, let's say, the more developed countries, if you will, mostly because you also see that in other areas that if there's, let's say, less infrastructure or less of a vested interest in keeping things the way they are, that there's just more room for interesting and new technologies to take over. And I also think that from a societal and community point of view, I think it's quite interesting because it's also a trend that you see all over the world, that by going for renewable energy and local renewable energy, that you are bringing power generation back to a local community, and that people are actually very, very interested in taking charge of something that is important for their lives, and there's just a lot more engagement if you say like, yes, this is our power coming from our villages or from our city blocks power plant, and people are more interested in that. So I think that it's a great and exciting time.
In today's workshop, many Belgian and Vietnamese companies are coming to share their solutions to the challenges in the renewable energy and especially the solar energy here in Vietnam. So what can you say about those solutions and the effectiveness of those measures?
Something that certainly looks promising and interesting was the dual power solution that was presented, where you actually combine solar PV with agricultural land use. I think that's a great way to not only get renewable energy deployed on the ground, but also make sure and actually counter some of the objections that people might have, in the sense that this will take away our agricultural land. No, it won't. You can still have your farmlands, you can still have your fields, you can still have your food production. That's a really important one, because I think the biggest challenges usually for a new technology like solar power are not really the investment challenges, but more societal acceptance, in the sense that if people, it's very hard to start rolling out solar panels if people don't want to have solar panels. And of course it's a very valid concern to say, no, this is farmland that we've been working for generations, and it's important for our community to have a farm there. And now you can just say like, yes, you can still have your farm, but we can also put solar panels on it. So not only will you have your farm, but you will now also have power with which you can do irrigation, and you can have lighting, and you can have electrical machinery to help you with the farming. So I think it's, and that's for me, that's one of the learning opportunities to see here. It's also very, it's interesting to see the solutions that Vietnamese companies come up with, because the mental framework is different. The environment here is different, and the mental framework is different. And for me, it's also nice and interesting then to see that the solutions that you come up with locally are perhaps different than the solution that I would think of, but they're certainly as valid. They're probably even more valid because they take into account the local framework and the local specifics.
Currently, Vietnam has many large-scale solar energy development projects and is expected to